Hi. Today my video will be dedicated to finding a job in a startup. This topic is quite broad. Getting a job nowadays, it's a tricky thing because people don't know what they are looking for, and it's hard to wrap your head around the whole topic and how to approach it, what side, and many other factors. So I'll try to give my advice to you from talking from my experience, nothing else. So I'm an entry-level specialist, but I've already had several internships in great startups, as far as I think. So my first internship was unpaid. It was for a biotech startup in Boston, Massachusetts. It was remote, and I was doing business development and sales development as well. But soon after, like 4 weeks, it became a paid internship. So the first advice would be if you don't have any experience at all you have is maybe education, maybe some courses that you have been doing out of your own interest, and something that you have doing for just your soul and you want to start your career in it. Don't fear unpaid internships because it's just your gate into the job search and the job world. Um, the number one resource for getting any job is LinkedIn, but I'm here to say that it's not the only one, and you shouldn't be limited to it as your number one and only search engine. Of course, you are submitting your profile there. They can see your dynamic, all of the places that you've worked in, because on your resume you might not indicate all the places because it's just one page long. You might um, link your credentials of professional certifications, online courses, many others, so they can see through your achievements. Also, you can do LinkedIn Learning there, which can get you prepared for a whole new career. You don't have a degree, that's fine. Just go to LinkedIn Learning and you'll find yourself doing maybe like 3D design, web development, data analytics, data engineering, photography, many things, and like business development as well. Um, so, what you do on LinkedIn is you go to the job icon, you go to all the filters, enter entry level or internship because you don't have experience. That's what I've been doing. But if you have, you can start with associate and level it up, depending on how many years of experience you have. Then you enter remote. If you don't want to move to another country or you fear you might have any like problems with relocation, you don't want your company to sponsor it. Maybe you would like a smaller startup, and obviously they cannot sponsor any visas because they are just stage A or stage B. They're not yet acquired, anything like that, so they are out of budget. Um, yeah, so you write it down, but that doesn't mean you'll get a job at a startup. What could ensure you get a job at a startup is going to specific websites. So one of them, my number one advice is work at a startup from Ycombinator. Ycombinator is a startup accelerator. So people from all over the world, uh, people who have most interesting startups, they submit their applications once a year, and the best ones get accepted to be a part of Y Combinator. Um, a lot of a lot of companies, great companies that you know right now, they came from Y Combinator. And what they do is they give you like first round investment. They give you a lot of mentorship from professionals in that field, in the specific field that your startup is going to be great in. And they ask for 7% or 3% of your company in exchange. So that's a good deal because I don't think anybody regretted giving 7% to Ycombinator. It's in Palo Alto, as far as I understand. It's in California, for sure. You go there for like a year, and you might come back. You might want to build your company in the United States. That doesn't matter. What matters is the greatest startups are there. They are all very broad-minded. All of the employers are so interested in learning about you. So you go to, I can show you how this page looks. Yeah, I don't think it works like that. Yes, it doesn't. Um, maybe like that. Yeah. So this is the job search page. You sign in, you press get started. Then you fill out the form about your education, your prior experience, your desired salary. Are you a remote first company, a person who wants to work in a remote first company, which means people are all around the world and nobody is interested in what time zone, for example, you live in. This was important for me. Then you fill out like what languages maybe you know, what are your preferences, what do you want to get from this experience, many fields. And after you submit it, there is a filter that says like matching my profile or all of the jobs. You might want to try both because sure the engine isn't perfect and maybe you know better for yourself what will suit you. Um, and there are many roles. For example, I've been accepted to Pabio for business development. It's a company in Switzerland which um, which helps people rent furniture because it seems that people have been paying for furniture and while they are moving, they don't need it anymore, and they've paid a lot of money for the whole new furniture. And after they moved, they need another one. So they help people rent furniture for like several years and give it back. So this is really great for ecology as well. And this is the one that I've been accepted to, but I've been interviewing for a lot of positions right now. So maybe I'll tell you if there is any success in that. Talking about people with more experience, more like 3 to 5 or up to 10 years, there are a lot of jobs with really great salaries because you might be from the part of the world that um, is not really well paid, or you feel like you are underpaid. In the United States, it's just going to go away. People who have been working in software development for 3 to 5 years can get up to like $3,000 a year. For example, doing blockchain. Um, you might want to interview for many positions, even if you didn't have direct experience. But if you had several years of experience, it's going to count as a great plus. Um, this engine is super trustable, not to say about the others, because all of those startups, they actually have been in the accelerator and they have come a long way. They've been doing like investment funding. Like investors trust them. People who don't know them at all trust them, and they have shown growth over a certain period of time. So this resource is a top one resource, I should say. Another one, the second one will be AngelList. AngelList is a place where startups try to find their investors. So maybe you don't want to go to accelerator or you weren't accepted there. That doesn't mean that a startup is anything like worse or anything like that from the startups that were accepted. And you initially want your first round or second round of investments. You go to AngelList, and as it says in its name, there is a list of angel investors who would be interested in working with you. Um, there are several categories of underrepresented startups, for example, female founders or Black or Latin American founders. If you are in such a category, you will have several filters for you. Um, but what I'm interested in this platform is the job search in the startups that have been trusted by AngelList. Um, this platform has more jobs than Ycombinator, but also um, the percent of answering on um, in your application is a little bit lower, uh, and the jobs there are more. So the employers are initially interested in trusted professionals who have experience. So this is not directly like interested in for me, but could be for many different people from the industry. Of course, the top one um, job that employers are looking for are developers, but there are a lot. People are looking for sales development managers, they are looking for business development managers, they are looking for operations, customer success managers. I can explain what's the difference. Maybe you are trying to break into tech, so this will be a piece of advice for you. So customer success manager is somebody who is a little bit interested in psychology, in my opinion, because people go to customer success manager or like what customer success manager sees on a day-to-day basis is people complaining about something, and this person, he understands their complaints, he puts himself into their shoes and tries to understand what's caused the problem, how we can solve it, what's its priority, how do we approach it, and link this problem to a specific department. um, if you if you are interested in such a job, you might have experience with retail, for example, where people come back to you and say like this shirt didn't suit me, or this thing just doesn't work. This is practically the same, but in the tech world. What about business development? It's a more broad category, and it's more linked to the head, to the vice president, to CEO, and it's more like assistantship for them, as far as I understand from my experience. Maybe it's not true, but that's just what I did in my internship. Um, it's a creative person, but not in a way like design creative. It's somebody who um, understands the problems, understands maybe like some CRM software, um, how it's operating, how it's working so far, what can we do, how can we change the parameters that we are like sending out emails, sending out, I don't know, SMS and many other newsletters. How do we change that? Maybe we should start a new campaign, ask about our like content management side of the project, maybe talk to engineering. This is something that on this position you are entitled to do a lot, and if you show your interest to your boss, you may just change the whole company, in my opinion. And the third one that I wanted to talk is sales development manager. Sales development manager, it's a great position for really confident people, people who are very, very confident in the product. They understand it really, really well. Um, to a certain level, of course. You don't need to understand like if you are selling a software as a service, you don't need to understand how it's been coded, but you need to dig into details and be sure in them and understand what the problems are and understand how to approach them when discussing with a specific person. So sales development manager reaches out to different people, to different companies, and sells the product. A lot of films, I think, were made about sales development managers, and they're usually not very great people. But in my opinion, this job is absolutely amazing because you reach out to people who need this help, and you initially give it to them. You don't need to sell anything to anybody who doesn't want it. So, for example, a company has been facing issues with spam calls. It's a huge issue. It annoys them, and you have a voice assistant that could solve their problem. So you reached out to them, you propose your like pricing, details, how long is the contract, maybe some additional services, some additional help, and they say yes, and it's a win-win situation. So you sell your product, which is your goal, and their um, goal is also met. They don't have the problem anymore. So sales development managers, they are usually working with a base salary and a commission, so that they are motivated um, to sell more. But it doesn't mean that you need to jump out of your pants, anything like that, uh, to do anything you can't do, because you always have that base, and this month you can sell it to 100 clients. Next month you can sell it to like 2 clients, and it will only depend on how you feel the person you are selling it to, how you understand their problems, how you approach them, how you talk to them is really important. So if you are pushing your like luck and stuff like that, or you are just being nice, if you are being understanding, compassionate, and stuff like that. This is what is popular on this platform. You also need to fill out the application. It's a little bit shorter, but the one thing that is indicated in there is time zones. And if you are not in the right time zone, you will just not be able to apply for certain positions. So keep that in mind. There are not so many remote first companies on AngelList, but it doesn't mean they don't exist there. They're just a little bit fewer than in Ycombinator careers. Um, a lot of companies there sponsor visas if you are interested in moving to the United States. A lot of companies there sponsor visas, um, and a few of them want entry-level specialists, just to keep in mind. I can show you the website so you can familiarize yourself how it looks like. AngelList. Yeah. Number 3 would be startup.jobs. This is something that, so there are 2 more. This one, startup jobs, and let me see how working startups. So those 2, they are pretty similar, and they are more like regular job boards. I would say that startup.jobs, and this is how it looks. It has more jobs in the European area. Um, I found many jobs in Germany and Switzerland, stuff like that. So if you are looking to find a job in Europe, you might want to learn a language that you'll be working in. For example, if you are a software developer, you don't like initially need a language to work, like a sales development manager, for example, or um, anybody who works with people directly. But for example, if you want to work in Germany and you don't know German, this will be a huge minus on your application, just because employers look for people with knowledge of that language. It doesn't mean that you need to be 100% sure about it. It doesn't mean that you'll need to be an expert on a native level of that language. You just need to pass some interviews, show your interest, say, see, I learned this language in like a year, and after practice, I learned it in like 3 months. Up to like a perfect level, so you can see my progress, and employers will totally understand that. Um, what could be interesting for you? What are some perks of working in startups, in my opinion? Um, so the first one would be um, that the salary in startups is quite negotiable, and it grows as the startup grows, and you can directly help the company to grow, because it's just their like first steps. It's something that like nobody in the startups knows what they're doing, and if you have any ideas, it will really be helpful, and can ensure maybe even the exponential growth. A lot of companies give out stocks, like huge companies like Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Facebook. They always give out stocks to their employees, uh, as well as startups. But what about like big companies? Their stocks don't grow that much over a year. It can be like 20%, I think, like tops. What about startups? If you are given stocks, for example, on an IPO stage, and then the when the IPO is done, you can get like 100% in like a month. So it's a situation where you cannot plan on it, and you cannot make it happen. It's quite risky, but it's really great if you are passionate about the work, if you are really interested in the company, you are really eager for the product, and for somebody who is really hardworking, maybe as I am in their early 20s, startups are really great for that. Also, the plus would be like the the good side would be that, depending on the company, um, you might get more. Um, I forgot the word. So promotions. Promotions, they work more easily in startups, because in companies um, that are older, that have a lot of employees, they've been on the market for a while. They know for sure what they are doing. They have specific rules. And in startup, there are no rules. If you are really great, you've done a great job. For example, in sales development this month, maybe you reached a commission that has nobody has ever seen before in this company. You can be promoted to the head of sales department like in several months, if you never had experience in that. And after you've worked as a head of sales development in that company, every company that you could possibly dream of will want you as a candidate. So it's a great ladder to start your career in, because to work in entry level position, for example, in I don't know, Salesforce, you'll need to climb that ladder um, a lot longer. Sometimes you'll not be able to climb it up to the head of sales department, just because the corporate structure is structured like that. Maybe there are some rules that you just don't understand. And the startups, they eliminate that fear and the possibility of failure. Um, the third, um, the third plus that I could try to convince you in is the fact that you don't need a degree to work at a startup. This depends on the startup, and I wouldn't talk about all of them. But because startups don't have a strong corporate structure, they don't have strong requirements, and they just look into your experience and see if it fits with their. There are people who are really eager to do great things. And if they see that you're the right person and you just don't have a degree, they might even value you more because a degree is something that you spend a while on, and it does not necessarily help you um, in your career goals. So you don't have any like project-based work. Sometimes in universities you have, for example, in Northeastern that I was accepted to, they have like a co-op, but it's totally up to you to use that co-op or to waste it on something that you are not interested in, not passionate about. So if you've been doing enough project-based work, maybe you're a freelancer, maybe you've been working on your own business that maybe didn't succeed, maybe succeeded, and HR finds it great and talks to like top managers in startups. Nobody will ever ask you like, why didn't you get a degree? It's totally not interesting for them. For example, when I was interviewing in Pabio, the founder himself, he never wanted to get a degree and started building businesses right out of high school. So here, your interest in the subject, your passion, your ability to be hardworking, it conquers all, absolutely all. The next plus would be the ability to learn. So if you don't want to go to college, it's totally understandable. And in my personal opinion, it's not necessarily needed in our day-to-day life. If you don't want to become a doctor, if you don't want to become a lawyer, you might want to consider not going to college and going to work right after high school, as I did. So I was privileged enough to work in a laboratory, and I was accepted to business development in the startup, and I never regretted the choice of taking a gap year. So right now I'm really more career prepared. I've been working in Microsoft as a student ambassador and in Boston Consulting Group um, as a case support specialist. Those are really entry level roles, but to get into them, to break into those companies without anybody knowing you there from not a great, for example, university, not from like MIT or Columbia or any Ivy League, it's quite hard. And what wins is your passion, your interest, your willingness to work for free, for example, to show how great you are, and then negotiate on what you want your salary, what you want your day-to-day work to be like. And the last point that I can talk about right now is the fact that you can both study or work at another job, for example, full time, while working at a startup. So, for example, you are a great software developer or a great um, I don't know, audit specialist. You're a great consultant, and you're working at your like 9 to 5. You're not very happy with it, but you don't know how to change that. You can find yourself a part-time or project-based job at a startup. It's there are a lot of variants of doing that. So you'll need to be at work for like only 2 to 4 hours a day in another, for example, time zone, so you can fit both of them. Or you come home after your work, you do your project-based work. Nobody is asking you to be on day-to-day meetings. And you, step by step, you build your worth in that company. You have that experience in a startup. So after, for example, a year of working like that, you are you have already built that amount of trust that is needed, and you can transfer if you really like that job or really like that company. So you don't need to risk your 9 to 5 job for anything like to jump into the unknown. So yeah, I think that's all for today. If you have any questions, you can drop me an email. You can DM me on Instagram. Um, I am helping people to get jobs in startups, to move abroad. I'm helping people to make their resume perfect, to get them interviews. If you are interested in that, write me. And if you want to study abroad, also, you can write me anywhere you would like to. Bye.